Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to the Fearless Women MMA Bantamweight champion and stepping in on a few short weeks to become Fearless Women's first double champion, competing for the Fearless Women MMA Flyweight title. She's the one and only Josh Fuller. Josh, what's up? And we already got comments. Yes.
Hey, Sandra. Shout out to the Imperial Valley, Valle Imperial, mucho amor. Mexicali, El Centro, Calexico, puro cachanilla.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm going to do, because I ain't stupid enough. Yeah. No, but Josh, awesome to have you here. And she says, love you, Josh. We're going to do the Mario Yamasaki's. There you go. Shout out to Sandra. Like, she was already in the comments before we even started, so shout out to Sandra. You're the real MVP. But Josh, good to have you. I mean, you're competing in a few short weeks, so you are in the midst of a fight camp, kind of like finishing up the touches before you head into a title fight.
Yeah, good to be back. Thanks so much for having me back. It's always good to hang out with you, Adam.
Likewise, Josh. Likewise. You know, it's it's funny too, because like I think the first time we met, and I get it, right? Like, to be a female in combat sports, it can be kind of weird, you know, and you know, people are like, I don't know, it just gets weird, is what I'm saying, right? So like, I think you were around. Lucero Acosta, right? And her win at Combate at the USC Galen Center. And I was like, she probably thinks I'm a jerk. So, so I was just like, oh, cool. But we're good friends now. So that's tremendous, right?
That's so funny that you would think that was my impression of you, because quite the opposite. I was like, he looks like a really nice guy. I wonder, I want to learn more about what he does. You just come across as a nice guy. Like, what? I don't know. Did I make a face at you? I must have not been wearing my glasses, and I was probably doing one of these.
Okay. That is the exact look. So now I put it all together. But yeah, no, it's funny because, like, you know, that was Combate Arenas, right? Predominantly, you know, female card for Combate Americas. And then you find yourself here. You are a champion of a women's MMA promotion. So I think it's really, really, really cool.
Things come back full circle, right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, I guess I could share a little bit of some stories about that. It's interesting you start by mentioning Miss Lucero Acosta, Loba Acosta. Back then, what was that? April 2019. Lucero started training MMA just like a month and a half before that fight. And she actually took up that fight last minute because, funny story, she went kind of haywire and injured the girl from our gym who was supposed to fight that fight. So they're like, well, since you hurt your training partner and you're kind of marketable, do you want to step in and fight for the girl that you were supposed to help? And I had been training there for a month. I had just moved to El Centro. And I'll actually share a little bit more about why a girl from a big city like San Diego would move to a small desert town like El Centro. But I had just kind of stepped into integrated warrior arts. Shout out to Maestro Sunny, Maestro Manuel in North Carolina, IWA, all the way. And I just let them know, like, hey, you know, I compete. I used to compete. I'm really out of shape right now, but I want to stay active. I'm here on like a mission, you know, like a community building mission, and I don't want to lose my touch. And they're like, oh, well, we have this new girl that just started training here. She has a month. She has a fight in a month. And they're like, for Combate Americas, I was like, shut the front door. And that's Ms. Lucero Loba Acosta. And so we were just kind of feeling each other, pummeling. And I was like, how long have you been training? She's like, I just started like 3 weeks ago. I was like, shut up. I just moved here 3 weeks ago. And I was like, but where did you train before? She was like, the streets? Like, really? And I was like, stop. What's your name? Lucero? All right. Well, she didn't really speak much English. She speaks more English now. But, you know, we were just kind of vibing. Cool girl. Really attractive, strong as hell. So since she had no technique, she was always using her strength. And now I understand how she hurt her training partner who was in the training camp that she was supposed to help. So fast forward, we get to Galen Center, and her coach, Coach Scooby, was coaching at Integrated Warrior Arts, but he was kind of trying to have his own thing. It's in the title, Integrated Warrior Arts. We're integrated not only in like the various disciplines, but in our mentality and our place in the community. So whoever's in there, whoever goes to Integrated Warrior Arts, you're part of what Maestro Sunny calls the Church of Warriors. You're there not to learn how to fight. You're there to also practice being a protector and learning how to become a healer. And actually, Maestro Sunny, okay, I won't out him like that, but I'll just say that he's very intuitive, and he comes from a lineage of light healers. So I was very blessed. It's very auspicious, the timing of things, of how I ended up just walking in there. But, you know, just for whatever reasons, which again, maybe it's not at my discretion to share, Lucero and Scooby went their own ways after the Combate Americas. And I was offered, very strangely, I was offered to fight Lucero about 2 weeks after the Combate fight. And I was like, I can't fight her. She's my training partner. Yeah. And the matchmaker was like, well, Scooby said it was fine. And I was like, well, Scooby's my coach too. He hasn't told me anything. Now, granted, I hadn't seen Scooby or Lucero in like 2 weeks because I had traveled. I had traveled to Mexico City for a heavy metal concert called Domination Mexico. And that was my first time in Mexico City. Sick music festival. So when I came back to the news of like, hey, you want to fight for a title? I'm like, I haven't even had a training camp. I mean, thanks for the offer, but no, I'm not going to be anybody's tomato can like that. Yeah. And I was the girl. They said, you might know her. She's also from the Imperial Valley, Lucero Acosta. And I was like, stop. That's my training partner. So, you know, in the 2 weeks that I was gone, something happened and it was suddenly okay for me to fight my partner. Yeah, a little bit of, I was just saying like, hey man, I'm kind of old school. If you want to fight me, whether it's in the cage, in the dojo, or on the street, you're supposed to let me know face to face. I didn't have any problems with her. I was her interpreter. I was her language interpreter at Galen Center because Scooby didn't speak Spanish either. And it was just really good times, you know, so there was no beef at all, which is why I was confused. We were like, training, bumping hands, fist bumping, everything normal. And I come back from Mexico and, hey, you want to fight your buddy? I was like, well, typically, I mean, even Burns and Usman had a chat about it, you know, and it was an ugly outcome, but even they had an agreement. So that's kind of the world that I come from, you know, you act with honor, you're forthcoming, you're straightforward. And since it's a very small valley with, you know, they say small town, small minds, even a tiny little amateur fight like that could cause division. And if I arrive to El Centro to build community and develop an organization, well, I'm not going to contribute to anything that causes rifts. It contradicts my way of life. It contradicts the reason why I arrived to this town. Mm-hmm. So it was a tough decision because I love to fight. It was a tough decision because there were some words said that I wasn't a part of, but I just basically had to measure like, oh, okay, there was some beef that I wasn't involved in, and I just need to figure out, am I choosing sides or am I staying neutral, or am I making a statement? And what's louder, my words or my actions? In this case, my actions. So I didn't take the fight. I did reach out and say like, hey, we almost shared the octagon. That would have been cool. Didn't get any message back, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on with y'all, but I'm not gonna be a part of this whole shenanigans. But fast forward a couple months, and I get invited. No, fast forward a year, and I get invited to go check out 10th Planet San Diego, and Lucero and Scooby are both there. I get to spar with Lucero. I get to give Scooby a big hug, and just move forward. And that's what's nice about the fight game. Your actions speak louder than your words. So we may not have fought for a title, but we still got to face each other and acknowledge each other's presence and existence, acknowledge each other's growth and advancement in our fight game. And we still got to spar. We still got to exchange some hands and fist bump and hug right afterward. So no
That's
talking.
what it's about. Yeah.
Yep. No talking, all worky, all love.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Carl Diamond is so cool. He says Adam is great. You're great, Carl. You're great, Carl. You're tremendous. And Jaws is a killer name. 100%. 100%. And shout out to Brother Harvey. He says, not surprised you were offered that fight. As somebody that's in the nose. Yeah, I mean, but speaking of fights, the MMA superfan wants to know, Jaws, in an open weight MMA fight, who would you think would win between Kayla Harrison and Gabby Garcia?
Oh man. It would probably be a similar fight to Lucero versus me. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny. I should be careful because I legit wanna be like funny, but if she's not actually in here being a part of the joke, it could come across as like me talking shit and creating beef, and I'm not doing that. So my bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
The moral of the story is that like there was never problems and we're cool, and that the fight game, along with a good mentality, like fosters that. But to answer the question, I think it would be a sick fight. Gabby Garcia is actually not all strength. She is a very skilled fighter. And between Kayla and Gabby, I still think Gabby beats Kayla, but not easily.
Okay.
I think it'd be a close fight, but he said open weight. I mean, come on. You think Gabby's not going to take advantage of that?
Oh, yeah. And I also think that terms and conditions apply in this particular one, not just open weight, but where said fight happens. Because, if you notice, when Fedor fights here in the U.S. or what have you, I mean, aside from the Bellator forum show that, he got knocked out by Ryan Bader, happened to be there, and that was wild. But he usually...
Good jab.
Yeah. Oh, I was there. I was talking to Ryan Lilly, who had just fought and got a crazy knockout that was getting replayed on ESPN, a Bellator fight getting played on ESPN. That was crazy. So I'm talking to him, and I think I grabbed for a beer, and then it was over. It was over. Like I was like, what happened? Like Fedor's all like stiff, and I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, damn, Bader just turned this motherfucker into The Walking Dead, but not walking. It was weird. It was so weird. so yeah, man, he was just dead. But no, there's a reason why he...
Dead.
Yes. So there's a reason why he fights, for the most part, on native casino shows where there's not much regulation. So I would say to kind of like, it would be if PFL did a show at Saitama Super Arena. That's what I feel like. That's where it kind of evens out, because Kayla is signed to PFL, and then Japan, they're just like, do everything, whatever you want, supplements galore. Let's just like, whatever, So yeah, that's what I think.
That'd be a sick fight. I mean, I'd want to see them even just spar. There's this video out there of Cyborg and Gabby just like dancing. And it's like, it's funny, but it's funny, dude. But it's also cool just to see like some of the baddest, scariest women on the planet just kind of body all their muscles. They're like, eh. It's pretty cool.
I've seen somebody sent me Gabby taking a particular type of aerobics that might have involved a pole. It still scared the ever living bejesus out of me. So I will say that. And Gabby, the few times that I met her, as well as Cyborg, couldn't have been nicer. So this is not like shade throwing, but Gabby Garcia does scare me, legit.
I met Gabby at Galen Center too. I met a lot of really cool people, but it was cool to take a picture with Gabby Garcia that night as well at the Reinas Chingonas card, which was also where I first ever met or saw Paulina Granados, the Firefox. Shout out to her.
Yeah.
Much respect and love to her. I've had a chance to gain a little bit of her wisdom too. So we've sparred a couple times, and she always gives me feedback. And you'd be surprised how selfish people can be with information in the fight, or really in any, once you get to competition level, their knowledge, rightfully so. And Paulina is one of the most generous people I know with knowledge, wisdom, insight, tips. So I've gotten to spar with her, I think, twice. And in those 2 times, like, she's given me some literally game-changing advice. So thank you so much for being as wonderful as you are, Paulina. I don't know, man. I feel like the size of your heart is just like underestimated.
That's tremendous. Shout out to the Firefox. That's cool to hear. That's super cool to hear. Now, my the MMA, why do I say my? But he is the MMA super fan, but he also wants to know, who do you think would win in a fight over Danielle Wolfe, and do you think she has a chance against Felicia Spencer?
Oh, damn, that's a tough one for me. I love to see all these men thinking of these like dream female matchups. Let me see. Yeah, I just think so similar to the earlier question with the fantasy matchup is I think it would be a really exciting fight. It would probably be a close fight for at least the first round, first or second round. But I'd still give it to Felicia just because she's fought the 2 best. There are 2 best featherweight in the world. And so I'm sure she's learned a lot from fighting Cyborg and Nunez. And taking both of them for the full fight, neither of them finished her. So if there's one surefire way to learn how to fight, it's by getting your ass beat. So
by a champion too.
By 2 champs, yeah. By the best champs. So yeah, I'd still give it to Felicia. Again, she's not just a punching bag. She's not just a girl with a good chin. She can fight. She's the first to cut Cyborg, and I love Cyborg. So when she cut her, I took that shit personally. Yeah. I was like, how fucking dare you make her bleed her own blood? But anyway, yeah, between Danielle Wolfe and Felicia, I'll still give it to Felicia. Although that would be a really fun fight, both sides.
All this talk about fighting, for those who don't know, and the fight is booked on May 22nd. So hopefully that's a UFC fight night card, not pay-per-view. Yeah, well, the thing about it is, so the pay-per-view, right? Like the Connor card, right? For everybody that paid, right? And Dana White was going to go against the streamers and everything like that. The only one that's at the shaft were the people that paid the dang near $80 to watch the fight. So
yeah, but they got the shaft if they're casuals and ate and drank and told jokes leading up to the main event. For those of us that watch studiously, we got our money's worth since early prelims.
Well, yeah, but the thing about it is, if you pay for that's just like going to a place and wanting a taco, and they were like, "Oh, here's a piece of a churro." Like that's literally what happened because I mean the first half of the card, the pay-per-view portion of it, like completely went out for people.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
And that's
Dana,
when the streamers won.
yeah. So that's why I say, because like I don't have to search around to figure that out. Because here's the thing, honest to goodness, and this is not Jaw saying it, this is me saying it. So the narrative of you thinking, or the UFC telling you that, hey, higher price points make more money for the fighters, that is false, right? Because the UFC has been more profitable than I'd say they ever have been during this kind of COVID era or whatever. Because if you look at the terms and conditions of the deal, the views, right, just running a show is to the amount of revenue that they get from ESPN is to the ilk of like, I think it's like something crazy like 250,000 pay-per-view buys per fight, right? And again, at the same time, fighter pay hasn't necessarily improved. Pay-per-view points for a headliner or a champion, that isn't there because of the ESPN deal. Because of the Reebok deal, the fight bonuses are. I mean, I remember Dana giving like, 100. I mean, fighters saying like, I got $100,000 bonus from the UFC and all that jazz, before Reebok, right? So with that all being said, I'm not mad at anybody who streams or whatever, because again, you're supporting the UFC is making their money. So that's it. Yeah, regardless if you pay $80 or not. So
speaking of price points and stuff and thinking about how it supports fighters, Fearless Woman MMA has been on a mission this whole pandemic to get women fights, because if we're as amateurs, just as amateurs, let alone the pros, shout out to Tina Pettigrew, who's been staying ready for a year and a half since her Invicta debut, like itching to fight, and she's been ready. But anyway, so yeah, again, shout out to Tina. Your work ethic is like inspiring, bar none. Thanks for staying ready. So, and she's a pro, she's a professional. She's not a professional because she gets paid. She gets paid because she's been a professional, and that's the difference between a pro and a fighter. But anyway, Fearless Woman MMA understands that. So this is Libby Canella, Miguel Rendon, and Alan. I forgot his last name, and Profe Arvizu, right? These are like the four horsewomen of amateur MMA in Mexico and internationally now. So they understand that for these fight promotions that for the longest time were fighting men, and then maybe if they thought it was sexy enough would bring in women who were willing to exchange blows, right? They understand that it's like you have this fight card, it's like 8 men, maybe 1 or 2 women. When there's a registry of like 100 women training, ready to fight, wanting to advance their life, wanting to show others how it's done, etc. The reasons why people fight. And you're going to tell me that this fight promotion's just going to let 2, maybe 4 fighters in?
Right.
And again, fighters meaning a matchup, meaning like 2 female fights. So it's hard enough during a pre-pandemic world as a woman to get a solid fight with a worthy opponent, a good matchup, right? Because there's also that stereotype. I'm going to call it a stereotype now because it's not so much a reality that the fights are lopsided with women. I think that's another thing that's evolved a lot, even just in the amateurs. We're not as lopsided anymore. The training and the knowledge and the IQ generally has increased. Cool. So yeah, you used to just have these lopsided fights. If you're lucky, you got into a fight but a lot of us weren't getting chances in a pre-pandemic world. Now, fast forward to we're in a pandemic. You have to travel outside of California to fight. I think there's only 2 states in the whole United States that are letting you fight. So Fearless Woman MMA is on a mission to not only like get us fights for the sake of entertainment, they'll let you know that what their mission, what their vision is. They're really trying to change the game. They're helping build up a whole like ref commission in Mexico, or rebuild it, restructure it, we should say. They're like trying to take the dirty money out of business. They're funding themselves. They're very limited in who they allow to sponsor them, to make sure that like they're not associated with any crooked stuff. They really want to give us, those who want to fight for them, they want to give us the cleanest, most official opportunity to advance our careers. So the women that are fighting at Fearless Women MMA aren't just stepping in there to see what's happening. Every single girl, every single woman that you find on that card on March 6th, so a week and a half from now, we're all trying to make something happen for ourselves, for our families, and for that organization, and for the sport of MMA. So they used to just have 1 fight per year the last like 6 years. And Libby Canella has done incredible things to speed up that process. And now it's been, like 6 or 7 months, and they're already having another event since the last one, Fearless 6 in September. So they're keeping it pushing. They're trying to have more fights per year, as many times as they can, so that, again, those of us who are serious don't have to collect dust on the shelves as amateurs. And they have pro bouts now too. So they're giving opportunities for new professionals to build up their resume and have big organizations look at them. So that's the other thing. Fearless MMA is very unselfish. Like, they're not, they don't see us as just assets. The organization itself, like, they are the organization, but the organization is also an asset. It's like a very community type, nonprofit way of running a fight organization. It's so much more than sex and violence, and that's why if throughout my amateur career I have to only fight for one organization, like if I was a pro, like, bro, Fearless is it.
That's tremendous. Now, and here's the fact of the matter, right? And this is why it's so important for an organization to exist, such as Fearless, because I've talked to a lot of fighters, both male and female, that are amateurs that wanted to maybe, fight for the California state title, or, maybe get a couple more fights, under their belts, but because the amateur scene in California has pretty much died out, even the pro scene, it's pretty much died out, because there's only been a couple, during the pandemic, there's only been a couple promotions running, and that is only in boxing. When you talk about Top Rank, Golden Boy, and I think there's the third one. I want to say like Premier Championship Boxing, PBC, or something like that. But those all have, they can run, no crowd, and what I'm hearing in terms of like commission fees are like $20,000 to $30,000 just for COVID testing and all that. Well, they write that off as just a production budget, and because they have, whether it be sponsors or lucrative TV deals, that's it. But in terms of MMA and both professional and amateur here in the state of California, where we're at, it's pretty much died out. So I've seen a lot of, basically amateurs for necessity, just to be able to get a fight, to not have their skills go to waste, turn pro almost prematurely, because there's no other promotions that can do it as an amateur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, straight up. On that note, with everything I mentioned about this organization, Fearless MMA, they've been streaming the fights live. Free. They've been streaming them free on YouTube, on Facebook, and Instagram Live. They've been doing this. So they're not even turning a profit. I'm telling you, they're running this like a nonprofit. Well, it's a freaking nonprofit. It's just not like a 401c or what we call it, right? So it's very possible that this next on March 6th would be streamed for a very small fee. And I don't think I'm like leaking information here. The people need to know that it's very possible that you might be asked to pay $4 or $5 to stream this fight. You're telling me a whole night of fights, really good fights, like trained women that fight like dogs, but like trained dogs, you know? You're telling me like, $4, but you'll drink a nasty frappuccino for that same price or more. So we've been talking about support small business, support up and coming fighters, support artists, and you see artists like streaming concerts for like $10, $20, and I would gladly pay $50 if I had to. So if this ends up being the case, please support Fearless Woman MMA, please, because they're taking such good care of us. As amateurs, they're taking really good care of us. They're not only providing us that opportunity to fight, but they're giving us that experience to do it internationally for a title that carries weight. It carries weight internationally. They're registering our fight on places like ShareDog and Tapology. So it's not just a smoker fight. It helps our rankings internationally go up as amateurs. And they're trying to get us connected with professional organizations too. So whoever says that the sport of MMA doesn't help you advance the quality of your life, talk to a fighter and talk to a fighter, and we'll let you know what's up. And in a very non-threatening way.
In a very non-threatening way, right? And unless you try to get those hands, because if you come wanting the hands, you're gonna get the hands. So there's that, right?
The hands of love and affection.
There you go. So you are in a pretty interesting scenario going into March 6th, Fearless 7, because you're the reigning Fearless Woman MMA Bantamweight champion, right? But you're stepping in and you're dropping weight to go down to flyweight for a chance to compete for the flyweight championship and become Fearless's very first double champion. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. I was really excited to take that on. I had a spread out conversation throughout the period of like 3 weeks with Coach Juan Ramos. Shout out Juan Ramos. This is my lunch break, bro. My coach is my boss now. He's that's a whole other story too that I'd like to share if possible. But we had a long conversation about what our goals were, how we wanted to move forward now that we had this bantamweight title. And I had been wanting to fight at flyweight for over a year. That was a goal of mine. So, then the pandemic happened. It seemed like things weren't going to happen. And when Libby and Miguel Rendon reached out and asked if I would like to fight at bantamweight for a title, let them said yes. The rest is history, right? So I was like, okay, I will delay the drop to flyweight. My first attempt at flyweight was for King of the Cage, but we did a catchweight bout, Miss J Nasty and I. That was a BS fight, by the way. Man, I've been calling for a rematch, but I've just been getting better fights, so whatever. And yeah, that's definitely an attempt at some beef. So yeah, we've been wanting to drop to flyweight since Maestro Sunny back in El Centro at Integrated Warrior Arts. We had been talking about that flyweight because I'm a tiny girl and I've been fighting some giants and giving them some good fights, So if I'm fighting these like Goliath Amazon women at bantamweight and flyweight, I need to drop down and see how I would smash through flyweight, and maybe strawweight. We'll see. But I'm a tiny girl and I need to know my place. So with that said, once I got this bantamweight title, we were like, even speaking with Camo, like, can we unify it for a California state title? When will there be some California bouts? And that just seems like it was going to be a long time. That one, man, that one right there, come to mama.
There you
go. And yeah, we just figured like, yo, let's not delay it. Like the Camo is trying to figure themselves out. Jaws knows what Jaws wants, so Jaws is going to drop to flyweight. And you know, they right away Fearless came up with like, hey, we have another event. We're like, shut up, not 12 months, 6 or 7 months. Let's do it. And we're like, hey, but we're not gonna go back up to bantamweight. We've been working really hard to get down to flyweight healthily. And they're like, okay, we'll fight for the flyweight title. And I'm like, you know, this means that you're making history, right? You're gonna have a double champ in your organization for the first time. And they're like, heck yeah, this is good for everybody. So here we are. Going to be the first double champ for Fearless Women MMA, going to set the bar for the amateurs. And then, you know, going forward, we'll see what happens. And we'll be moving up and down in weight to defend both titles. I just love to fight. I love to fight, and I love to make history. And I've always been a part of trailblazing and making history at like grassroots levels and different things. So, I'm not one that is maybe like known for a lot of the things I've accomplished, but in my mind, I know that I've been the first to touch many lands. And so, you know, between me and God, we know a lot about me, for better or worse. So it's pretty cool that this is something that I'm doing that sets the bar for other women to come, for other fighters to come. And not just women, you know, just fighters, period. Maybe can have this in their minds too. Like going back to what I said about Coach Tina Pettigrew, who is also my coworker. That's why I call her Coach Tina P, right? Because we coach the kids together here at Bonita Martial Arts. So going back to what I said about her earlier, she's not a pro because she gets paid. She gets paid because she's a pro. And so that's kind of the work ethic that we should all have throughout our lives, whether we get paid to do something or not. Do it professionally, do it honorably, be punctual, be diligent, you know, be perseverant, follow through. So when we're hitting the pads and they say punch through, that's the ethic that you should have in everything in your life. So yeah, this whole thing about trying to be working to be a double champ, it's a little bit of part of that ethic.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, obviously, you mentioned, I mean, you're on your lunch break, right? So I'd be remiss not to, you know, at a time where a lot of people's employment status and, you know, going for their dreams are kind of in a precarious position, you figured out a way to, like, literally integrate all of your loves, right? I need to get paid, obviously, to get the bills paid, but also to, you know, basically parlay everything in martial arts to basically be one with the sport. You're making a living from martial arts. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So for a vast majority of the pandemic last year, I, like many Americans, wasn't working, wasn't employed. So it did affect me in that regard. But it allowed me to spend more time in the gym and just be more creative, like use my wits. What are my talents and how can I use those to not only make an income, but, you know, help others smile. So that's where I started, like, selling food. I know how to cook. So I started selling food and raised some money for the dojo since I couldn't pay my dues. Started selling plasma, made some good money doing that. And coaching. I just started volunteer to coach the kids and some of the, and started giving personals to domestic violence survivors over there in El Centro. And those are just some of the ways that I was building up my resume, you could say, intentionally or not. It just sort of happened that way. with Maestro Sunny. So when some kind of interesting racism stuff popped off in El Centro and my safety was a little bit in peril, just some stuff started opening up so that I could move back to San Diego. I was in touch with Tina, and when Bonita Martial Arts Academy opened back up for in-person regular training, Tina took over as a jiu-jitsu teacher until we got a black belt here, Professor Bryce. Bryce Shepard Mejia, shout out to him as well. So Tina, just posted like, hey, I'm going to be coaching on these days. And I let her know like, hey, can I walk in? Because I have family in San Diego. I come visit. And when I visit, I'm just a potato. I'd really like to come work out. And she's like, yeah, man, come in. And so that's how we became connected. Then I met Coach Juan Ramos. And I let them know like, hey, honestly, now that I've been visiting you guys, like weekly, bi-weekly, I thought I should let you know that there's a strong possibility I'll move back to San Diego. And my home team that was originally Team Ray Dog at Back to Basics Combat Academy, shout out Coach Roger, they closed their gym. And yeah, we come from training in Parks and his garage. And so he did this big old move up to open up the gym. But again, for some pandemic and family stuff, had to close the gym. And so I don't want to stop training. Like, I know that there's no competitions around the corner, but I don't want to stop training. So come train here while still being a part of the Integrated Warrior family, like not be a Crianchi. So, which is a traitor for those who don't know, but most in the martial arts community, I think, have learned that term now. So Tina was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's talk to Juan. I talked to Juan and he's like, hey, actually, if you do move down here, we want to bring you onto the team, the coaching team, and you can train here, fight out of here, and just coach my kids. And then I let him know, like, oh, that's what I've been doing in El Centro. And I already have experience with mentoring young people through the Spiritual Empowerment Program, which is sponsored by the Baha'i Faith, but is not a religious program in nature. So my whole life for the last 6 years has been empowering the minds and spirits of younger people and being a mentor. So now to be able to do it through the martial arts, which is like one of my biggest passions, great, man. Like, this is good for all of us. So I get here and I'm working from home in the day, like customer service phone stuff. And then at night I get to come coach the kids. And then after them, I get to train and learn under Bryce and Tina and up my jiu-jitsu game and stuff. And then opportunities started opening up to train more and train at Azteca Boxing and spar at 10th Planet San Diego. And I was like, I can't. I work in the day. Like, I work in the day and I coach and train at night. And that's just how it is right now until I can do better. And Juan was like, screw that. You're trying to go pro, right? I'm like, I'm gonna go pro. I'm not trying. Like, and Juan is like, yo, I need an appointment setter. Like, just come in. So now I live at the gym and I sleep at my apartment. So anyway, that's again, speaking of the fight community and the big heart that martial artists have, and just Coach Juan and his incredible business insight and generosity just brought me on full time to work for the training center. So I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate. I'm aware that it's my actions and my, It's my actions and my reputation as an individual that made me trustworthy enough to receive an offer like this. But ultimately, that doesn't mean that it's all me. I've just been, I can't think of saying it any other way. I have been blessed to go through the crazy things that I've been through, to meet the wonderful people that I have, to be able to sit here in this building and talk to you about these people, And then after you and I sign off, I'm going to just go back to my typing and calling and letting people know, like, Bonita Martial Arts is the spot. You know, the best way to keep healthy kids through a pandemic is to keep them active and interacting with other healthy kids. Because my nieces and nephews that are cooped up at home all day in front of a screen, then they're done with their screen time in school and hop onto another screen and play games and hop onto the other screen and go on TikTok. And that's great. We're all doing it, kids and adults alike. But the difference between them and the kids that get their 1 hour of activity and interaction here, it's just amazing. Their intellectual like abilities, their empathy, their awareness of their body. It's just totally different. The kids that get this level of training from top level coaches like Tina, Alberto, and myself, and then the other kids who absolutely don't. Yeah, it's just amazing to see. Bring your kids to BMA, guys. Don't make me reach out and call you.
She will. She absolutely will. So that is facts. Now, the MMA superfan, he wants to know, speaking of the flyweights, what are your thoughts of the upcoming title fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Andrade? Yeah,
Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Andrade. That's another one that's going to be really exciting. I feel like Andrade has really grown as a fighter since Weili did what she did to her.
yeah,
There's no other way to say it, man.
yeah.
I feel like she's growing a lot as a fighter. Like, I thought her rematch with Thug Rose was going to be like just domination. You know, I thought Thug Rose was just going to have her way with her, but it was also a pretty cool, pretty close fight for about half the fight. If I remember correctly, my memory fails me sometimes. It's not CTE. It's just a busy life.
Yeah.
But if you get Shevchenko and Andrade in there, when I first saw the headlines, I was like, ooh, that's going to be exciting. And then I went, no, dude, Shevchenko's going to eat her alive. And I was like, but not before Andrade lands some good shit. So I've been going back and forth about it all morning. That's pretty cool that the super fan asked about that.
Yeah, he's a super fan. He knows all things. So
yeah, I mean, God willing, I get to face both of them before they retire. Because again, as a flyweight, I am thinking towards the future. I'm trying to build a career, and I do want to. I don't just want to fight the best. I want to beat the best. And if I don't get to beat them, still give them a good-ass fight. It's just how I am. It's how I've always been. So I am looking at them and just thinking, like, what kind of fight could I give them? Yeah.
And it's weird to think, right, that Dana White wanted to cut obviously the men's flyweight division, and then so too it was going to be the females, right? Because we're in an era where just yesterday, the UFC and UFC Fight Pass just kind of dropped Invicta just after 7 years, almost a decade long relationship, and they just dropped them. They just so it's kind of weird, right? Because if you would have cut the men's flyweight, if you would have cut the men's flyweight, obviously the women's would go there too. But again, one of the greatest fights of all time, has been a women's flyweight fight, and they've just gotten better.
Yeah, you know what? That's absolutely yes. I don't know. Maybe that was like clickbait or publicity to say something like that. Shout out to Henry Cejudo for saving the flyweight division. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, he makes me cringe, but he also gets me hella excited. Thank you for saving the men's flyweight. You know why I took this hella personally? Because one of our coaches, Alberto El Fili Trujillo, he's a flyweight and he's an exciting, monstrous flyweight. Like, the UFC is sleeping on him hard. If you're talking about a worthy contender, hurry up and get Philly Trujillo into the UFC so he could beat the lights out of freaking Deus de Guerra.
Davidson, right?
Davidson. Figueiredo. So incredible flyweight Davison Figueiredo, incredible flyweight Brandon Moreno, all these incredible flyweights in the UFC, but you have not seen a monster of a flyweight until you've witnessed Philly Trujillo. So that's why I took that personally, because I know a flyweight that strikes terror into my heart and actually makes me grateful that I will never have to step into a cage with him. As a man or a woman, you know, I feel like if he was a woman, he'd be even fucking scarier. But oh man, I was trying to go this whole interview without cursing, and I apologize.
You're good.
Scarier is not a word, but you know, my point is, so glad that the flyweight division is safe in the UFC, and you've got some talent coming to you. Look up Philly Trujillo. Defending is actually. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna touch it. He's defending his title on March 11th at Cage Fury. Don't miss it on UFC Fight Pass. This belt was snatched away from this other guy in October, and now he's gonna defend it. Watch Philly Trujillo defend this title March 11th at Cage Fury UFC on UFC Fight Pass. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. This shit is heavy, man. I think this is like 15 pounds.
Which, I mean, for a flyweight, which is 125, that's like a good portion of their weight. Like, yeah. I think that's just wild. I mean, you know, but I also think, I mean, shout out to Cage Fury, CFFC, because the fact of the matter is, I'm a belt mark, right? I pulled out the California State title. I think it's a beautiful title. You know, the Fearless one, you know, your Bantamweight title looks awesome. It looks completely different than anything else that I've seen, right? But the fact of the matter is, if you have a champion, right, and a championship belt, that is the centerpiece of whether it be the division or the company at large, to the public, the paying public. So if your title looks like trash, you're going to be perceived by the public that your promotion is trash. So where you're trying to be profitable and charge rates for your fights and everything like that, that can be problematic, I think. So shout out to, because that's the Cage Fury one looks great. California one looks great. The Fearless one looks great, which I know
one of each here. You've named them all. Tina Pettigrew has us with a California and an Epic one here. I have her Fearless one here, and you've seen Philly's Cage Fury one here. So we're opening it up. And then Maestro Bryce has an Explode Muay Thai one here too. We got Tina's Fight of the Night trophy up here. We're lining it up, man.
Which I believe I was there for Tina's California. I guess I remember distinctly. There were two fights. One of them, I mean, I want to say they were both title fights, but I remember her fighting at Epic, obviously, and then at Sparstar as well. And but I can't remember which was her which. A lot of fights in here. Yeah, a lot of fights in here. But no, an incredible fighter, even better person. So yeah, man, it's cool that you guys are all under one banner. They're at Bonita.
Bonita Martial Arts Academy. Actually, I want to take this opportunity to share one more very personal thing. Yesterday, I attended a funeral and burial of a very, very loved relative of mine, Carlos Little Warrior Cardiel, my great uncle on my grandmother's side. He was actually my grandmother's brother-in-law, but I was closer to him than my blood aunt. He's been cheering me on since I can remember. So just to share a little bit about Little Warrior, he's an OG, man. He was like hard-looking Mexican with the handlebar mustache, super deep, raspy Mexican voice. He kind of sounded like Machete, but more loving. Danny Trejo voice a little bit, and really, really loving with the biggest heart. So we'd be in these family parties, and he'd be dancing the whole night, and so would I. Any beat, you put on some funk, you put on some line dancing, you put on some banda, some quebradita en cumbias, some merengue, put on the pop and the reggaeton, and he'd be dancing the whole night. And so would I. That was just what I did. Like, I've always had excellent cardio. So, and this man, he'd be sweating. He's the type that would like pound his chest when he got excited. And you would just see the sweat, pow, pow, when he would bump his chest, So you'd be like, let's go, Mia, let's do it. You're in the splash zone when you're dancing with Carlos, Mateo Carlillo. So, unfortunately, he passed away from COVID complications. He fell, cut himself, broke something, and had to go to the hospital. Was tested positive for COVID, and that contributed to his delayed recovery, which he eventually succumbed to. This was back in January. We were only able to put him to rest yesterday. So I was very fortunate to be one of the very few people invited to say goodbye to him and lay him to rest at a time when nobody is really allowed to gather. I was very grateful to join the Cardiel and Alanis family in putting our uncle to rest, laying him to rest, we should say. As a Baha'i, I believe that death is actually a bringer of joy, and that if you truly love somebody, you are rejoicing in their liberation. Not just their liberation, because we don't believe that we're trapped in this life. We believe that life happens in phases, and death is only a physical event where your soul is really just like moving further into this eternal progression towards the creative source. God, Allah, whatever language you speak, the creator. So, of course, my heart was rejoicing for that fact, that belief that I have. But ultimately, I'm here, and he's all the way up there, and I do miss him. And so with my fighting, win or lose, he was always cheering me on. And I remember how excited he got when I was able to knock that girl out. It's at CFL. It was in his hometown, and he called me crying. He was so excited. So I'm dedicating this next fight to Carlos Little Warrior Cardiel. They called him Little Warrior because he literally fought somebody during a union strike, a union protest. He was I believe he was also a sheet metal worker, like a beloved coach of mine used to be. And they were striking, they were on a strike for their rights. And the company was like, oh, well, if you guys aren't going to work, we're going to bring in some other people that do want to work for less money. And so the union strikers were like, screw that. So they built like a little fence, armed chain link fence to like not let those workers come in and take their jobs. And one of the guys tried to like bum rush the fence. And my uncle was like, oh, no, you don't. And like punched him and started this whole brawl. And so he wasn't very tall. He was maybe like 5'5". But he was just such a big presence. This man he didn't just fill a room, he like filled a hall. This man was the party, Wow. So he, so they called him that got him the nickname Little Warrior. He was literally fighting for what he believed in. And I'm just really gonna miss those phone calls of Mija, you made me feel good, Mija, and that raspy voice just singing to me over the phone. And I'm really gonna miss that, but I have that. I have that memory, and from the moment I found out that he passed, I was gonna go on a run when they called me and told me. And I was just going to sit there and cry about it. But I knew that he would not have that. He's like, hey, you have a fight coming up. Get your ass on that run. And so I went and I run, and I was thinking about him the whole run. And that's really what my camp has been. Just moving forward, no matter how badly I didn't want to, whether I was tired or I was just like not having a good day mentally and emotionally. He was just a really no excuses type of guy, but in the most loving way. He was just so lovingly no excuses. And so this whole fight camp has been powered by Carlos Little Warrior Cardiel. And I'm dedicating this title fight to him. And last one is the shirt that I'm wearing, Trust God Clothing, is his son, my uncle Danny Cardiel, has made these like custom Jaws t-shirts. And so with this Philippians quote, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. So I just want to dedicate all of my efforts, all of my sweat, and even my battles through the days where I was lacking motivation. I want to dedicate it all to the Cardiel family. So look up Trust God Clothing and feed your spirit a little bit. And always have a why.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And Yaz Gonzalez says, Jaws!
Hey,
Jaws.
Jazz
Yes.
Gonzalez, what's up? I love
And,
you.
absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you had
Pardon?
Brenda here.
Oh, that's her. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Brenda. What's up? And again, my condolences to your families for the loss of Little Warrior. Our hearts go out to you and your family. But it's the reason why you fight. Like you said, you got to have a reason why. You have to define your why. So, Jaws, there's been so many people, both professionally and personally, that have helped you here to this particular, I guess, event in your life. So let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Absolutely. First and foremost, my mom. My whole life, thanks, Mom, for letting me be who I am. Even in times when it was just hard to watch me stumble through life and figure myself out, my mom and my dad respectively just let me and gave me the love and support, and here we are. So thank you guys. My brother Eugene Fuller, Crypto Gene on Facebook. Thanks for being literally, I think, my biggest supporter. That man is my best friend, and I like to call him my non-twin because I think we're legit male and female versions of each other. But we're 2 years apart. He's kind of like a introverted, kind of slow and a turtle. So I think the only reason why we're not twins is because he was too lazy to come out of the scrotum.
That's a theory. It's a theory.
And then moving on to, fast forward to the MMA path. Roger Contreras, Coach Rocco, always sharpening up my hands, getting ready for fights. So thank you so much for your excellent training. And for that one fateful day, Saturday afternoon, when we were at a undisclosed gym, and you just walked in and said, hey, I'm going to make your brother scared of you, because my brother and I would just pitter-patter messing around. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to make that guy scared of you. And here we are. He definitely respects the hands now. So thanks, Coach, for getting me into the MMA game and seeing my potential before I even considered it. Fast forward to Integrated Warrior Arts, Maestro Sunny, and Grandmaster Edward Castillo-Rubio, and the whole Castillo-Rubio family, and Christina. Thank you guys so much for all of your love, your support, your teachings, your knowledge, your energy work. You guys definitely are workers of light and just absolute soldiers and servants of God. So thank you for touching my life with your light. And Sonny Castillo-Rubio is my brother forever. That man is my brother for sure. He's my maestro and he's my brother. So IWA shout outs. And here in Chula Vista, Tina Pettigrew, thanks for inviting me to come train with you. when I was kind of martial arts homeless for a little bit. And last but not least, Juan Ramos. Juan Ramos all the way. Juan Ramos, thanks for the employment. Thanks for the excellent coaching. Thanks for the support. Thanks for, just keeping me on my toes and always pushing. And I know it's not easy. I remember Erin Toll saying fighters are fucking annoying. And I'm starting to see in myself what she was talking about. So I'm trying not to be annoying. I'm generally easy to work with, but I have my days too. Nobody's perfect. And so thank you, Coach Juan Ramos, for just being so excellent, to say the very least. And yeah, to say the least, you're excellent. Thank you.
That's tremendous. And it says, hi guys. Hi. And then the MMA superfan says, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know who you were before today. You definitely gained a fan through this interview. Shout out to the MMA superfan. He's tremendous.
Let's be friends, superfan. Hey, one more. Wendy Castro, Loca Castro Gomez. Bro, I know you're struggling with your health right now, and you've been for a minute. And I know you keep talking about me as a fighter and a warrior and all that stuff, but dude, you've been battling some stuff that some people couldn't even fathom for a day, And this has been you for a couple years now. So you're another one that I think of when I just feel too tired or unmotivated or I'm confused and clouded, and even just getting up to train is a struggle. And I think of your resilience, and I keep moving, bro. So thank you so much for also being one of my closest and best friends, for being such a fighter. And we'll fight through this together, bro. Anything you need, call me up. Anything you need, call me up. I love you, G.
I love it. And a hearty shout out goes to Fearless Woman MMA. And go ahead and follow all of their social media handles to find out more about the upcoming Fearless 7. Fearless 7 comes live to you on YouTube, probably with a small fee, but that's cool because you're going to see some of the many, many bright stars of MMA, which, look at as evidence in that beautiful title that Jaws herself won and covets right there. And that's tremendous. That's absolutely tremendous. Now, a shout out to the entire Fearless team, and then check out their social medias to find out more information on Fearless 7 on March 6th. So we're a couple weeks away. So check them out. And again, Jaws, thank you. It is always a pleasure to kind of chop it up with you here. And if you haven't already done so, we'd like to thank you for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You'll be glad you did. Jaws, you're subscribed, right?
Absolutely. I'm a fan. I'd be commenting and everything. Thank you, Adam.
No, absolutely. So be like Fearless Women Bantamweight champion Jaws Fuller and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast. But, if you don't take her word for it, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zach.
Hey, this is Zeta Zach.